Sports meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here this Monday and all throughout the week. Of course, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We appreciate your patience as off the air I was having an on the air, off the air conversation with Bethann Shapiro-Ord. So she'll be joining us momentarily. We have a great show and three fantastic guests stacked up for you here today on this Easter Monday. And whatever your background is, whatever your faith, whatever it may be, I want to wish everybody a very happy Easter. In my world, he is risen, and I hope you're all doing well. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', we're going to start the show off with the Binghamton Bearcats women's basketball head coach, Bethann Shapiro-Ord. Will be speaking on her season, moving forward, the state of women's basketball, and the NCAA Tournament, and all that history that was created in the most positive of ways for the women, as well as what I think went wrong in the tournament that had nothing to do with the players and nothing to do with the coaches. We've spoken about it for the last couple of weeks, and I'm still on it because it still needs to change. And we'll also get into hour number 2 with DT and Murphy. Brendan Murphy joins me to speak on the Masters as well as Major League Baseball and a little bit of the NFL. And we'll round out the show with fellow sportscaster and writer Alex Dodd, who will be joining me to speak on the disrespect of the Atlantic Coast Conference and what that's done the last couple of years. We'll also talk about God, family, and faith with a good man. With that being said, I am more than happy to welcome picture-in-picture back to the broadcast, Miss Bethann Shapiro-Ord from the Binghamton Bearcats women's basketball team, their head coach. Bethann, how are we doing?
Great. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing well, and I'm happy to have you here, and there's a lot of things to talk about, and I think we have to start it off with the fact, something that you told me off the air is you had to go through a little bit of surgery, a little injury that you had, and you got some five-star treatment, so I want to shout it out.
I did. I had a carpal tunnel done, and typically a carpal tunnel is an incision this big. I went to Rochester. Shout out to Dr. Mitten, no lie, hand surgeon in Rochester. But bigger shout out to my mother who took care of me the whole week. And I mean, 3 meals a day, unbelievably home cooked. I mean, I couldn't really do a lot. So I'm sure I gained, happens. But I told her, I said, Mom, maybe I need to start commuting or something back to Binghamton the way I was fed. But yeah, I'm doing good. I have I don't talk about it. I do, but a lot of people that know me, I have a birth defect. I have 2 big fingers, really big. All my friends back home, everybody. So everything's large, the bones, the tendons, the nerves. So when Dr. Mitten went in to help the release a little bit, my incision is like the whole, and I keep it covered because it's hard for me to look at it. Yeah. So it's kind of like Frankensteinish, but look, it's just my hand. Yeah. Could be worse. There's so many people out there and that have different things. And actually, talking about my hand a little bit, we had here on campus, we did a coaching her. Dick's Sporting Goods was one of our sponsors, and it was for young girls, just being coached by men, women, the younger generations, the younger kids, and how they're treated, and there's some really incredible stories and people that how they've adjusted, and I first time that I threw my fingers out there and said, hey, I grew up like this. I had them all my life. And, you just make do. And, I hope I helped some young coaches and some young kids knowing that, you can do whatever you want to do, regardless of what you have and things like that. But anyway, so I'm good.
Yeah, no. And I appreciate you telling that story, and I appreciate you sharing it because, I've talked about this all the time, is, on the show, and I know, it's a different topic, but similar in nature. I talk to people about suicide. I talk to them about mental health. I talk with them about bullying because I went through a lot of that stuff. And I had one of my, good friends, the reason why I went to Marywood University, my teacher, he took his own life. And it was the first time I had experienced something like that. It was my senior year. And I was his last class. We showed up for a final. He didn't show up. He was almost never late. And so I found out he passed away. 3 days later, I found out that it was at his own hands, so I had to lose him twice. And it was different. So, I think it's important for people to talk about, birth defects or a learning, I don't like calling it a disability, but something in learning or, going through mental health stuff or something with family. Because, I'm always, and you know this, Bethann, I always bring comedy in. But I bring comedy in as a way of, I had two choices, and we all do. You can either find the positive, the comedy, and to take like the pressure off as you work through it. You could choose the comedy road, that fun road, okay, let's find something positive, or you can, be depressed and downtrodden. And I've never known you to be that way. Honestly, if you didn't say it, I wouldn't have known it, because you're Bethann. You're positive. You're always kind. You're always nice. You make time for me. You treat me like a king. I came down to Binghamton and I felt like the green carpet was out there the whole time. So, I appreciate you telling your story, and I appreciate you sharing with people. And I'm sure you did help somebody forward, because you always do. But I know you as Bethann, and I think that you need to know that, and people need to know that we're not defined by our past. We're not defined by our experience. We're not defined by our, birth defects or whatever's going on in our lives. We're defined by who we choose to be. And there's not many like you, Bethann. So I'm happy you chose to be who you are.
Oh, well, thank you. And I do, comedy is part of how I kind of dealt with it as a young kid too. And it wasn't that people would, bully, but after a while, when you're young,
yeah,
it gets a little old. So, you add a little to it. Like if somebody saw it for the first time, they're like, or they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, well, it's contagious. And I touch them and they're like, I'm just kidding. But you gotta have light, like the first 2 months of the season. I don't know if you remember, but I had a cast on.
Yeah.
But people were like, what happened? And I'm like, you should see the other guy.
Yeah.
You just. But there's, if you can't laugh and have fun with it. I mean, I played Division I basketball. I never had issues with it. One time I think I jammed it. I was at Niagara basketball camp and the boys were on one side and I wasn't paying attention because I was looking over, and all of a sudden, boom, hit, but it is what it is. And I've been fine with it. So it's not the way it looks.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about that green stuff. I heard golf. How about you like the green jacket? I'm getting ready for golf season. I got to get this hand ready.
This is my thing with your green jacket is I want to know what year you won the Masters is what I want to know.
Well, I will tell you, my nephew, remember we talked about Parker, who's a golfer.
Yeah.
Last night when John Rahm won it, I love saying that, John Rahm. But when he won it, I text Parker. I said, "You're next, baby. You're next."
Yeah.
And I tried to FaceTime. He didn't answer. And then he finally FaceTimed me. It's like it was like 9:00. He's usually in bed early. And he FaceTimed me immediately. "What's going on?" I said, "You not read my text?" He goes, "No." I said, "John Rahm won and you're next." And he's like, "Oh, I was on the golf course." I said, "You didn't watch?" He goes, "I was on the golf course." I said, "That's why you're next."
That's why he's next. Yeah. That's awesome. Good for him. No, I what the cool thing is, growing up, I never really watched golf growing up. I didn't like to.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad always loved to watch it. So last night he came over because my parents aren't together. So I went to brunch with my mom, and then for dinner, I said to my dad, I said, "You know what? I'll cook. I'll make something." And he was like, "All right," and I said, "I'll figure out something to make." And I'm the type of person, like a mad scientist is what I call it in the kitchen, because I don't exactly know what I'm going to make until I decide. So I had ground chicken, I had ziti, I had vodka sauce that I had bought because I had this thing going on in my throat that I have to stay away from certain tomatoes and different things. So I haven't been able to make my own homemade sauce, which don't get me started because it's driving me nuts. So
Oh, yeah.
I had to buy a certain I don't know. I bought vodka sauce because it's lighter, and
Mhm.
the vodka sauce, I tasted it and I was like, no. So I took it out, put it in a pot, and I put all these ingredients in. So I made it totally different. And then I had the ziti, the ground chicken, cheese, threw that together, kind of made like a goulash type of thing with ground chicken. And we had that for dinner. And then my dad was like, hey, you know what? He's like, we should go downstairs and watch the Masters. And so we went down to my theater room and we just hung out watching the Masters, and it's the most fun I've had watching golf in a long time with my dad. And Kepka was great, and Rahm was
Oh,
awesome, and
terrific.
the amateur. I mean, there was so many pieces of it, and I know we're going to talk about it in an hour or two. But you got the green jacket, Beth Ann. So I just want to know, like, where did you get this? Was this like given to you as a gift by the wonderful people at Binghamton? Was it given by Augusta? Where did you get it?
I wish it was given to me. But yeah, no, it was not. It was a purchase when I got, maybe a year after I got the job, I found it and I was like, oh, I didn't even hesitate.
Yeah.
Even hesitate. I'd tell you the designer, but I don't want to, when she starts giving me stuff, then maybe I'll talk about her. No, but it's cool because it actually has a little zipper inside. I could put a little hoodie.
Yeah.
That's her brand. But
Okay.
yeah, I saw it and I was like, Binghamton, look at the colors, right?
I love it. So we're
So
here
I
with,
thought I'm wearing it today.
and I appreciate you rocking it today for the show. Bethann Shapiro-Ord, Binghamton Bearcats women's basketball head coach. A lot of things to get into, Bethann, and we'll talk about your season and moving forward in a second. I have been, as you know, a proponent of women's athletics since I started my career back in 2003. My deal with Marywood University was that if they asked me to do the live commentating of the men's games, I was doing the women's games too, or I wasn't doing it. So
Mhm.
I carried women's basketball all 4 years that I was there, and I've watched it. At that time, the women's basketball team was better than the men's basketball team. I had no idea why they weren't on television or radio, and they've been pretty good since then. And shout out to Jen Carlton over at Marywood currently. So I look at the women's game, and I was in it more than I've ever been in it for Division One for the Final Four this year, and just every part of it. I mean, obviously Dawn Staley, people know what she's doing, but when you look in Gino Ariema and whatnot, but then when you dig in and you get to know the coach, you see the coaching staffs at Iowa and LSU, you see Caitlin Clark, you see Angel Reese, you see, so many pieces of you see Jasmine and how she just went off in the championship game. There's so many things that happened, and there were so many records being set and moments happening. But I had one giant issue with the women's basketball championship, and that's that it was played in the middle of the day because allegedly a four-letter network had to carry the Texas Rangers' third game of a 162 game season. I had a massive issue with it because they tell us all the time the championship games have to be at a certain time so that we can make sure the West Coast is home to see it. Well, the West Coast was watching this game during brunch at 12:30 or on their phone during church. So I would love to get your thoughts on a 12:30 Pacific time game, 3:30 Eastern time. To the people in Dallas, it was at 2:30 in the afternoon. Fantastic game, wonderful game. 19,000 plus showed up. A lot of people watched on TV. But I still think it shows that we're not where we need to be with women's basketball because the game should have been at 8 o'clock. That's my opinion. I'd love to get your thoughts.
Um, yeah, we have come a long way, but there are some things a lot of things that still need to be, changed and thought about because we also had in Dallas, they had Taylor Swift concert going on, but we still packed the house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but I will tell you how far we've come. It was great to have so many commercials. Look, we had different teams on, we had different players on in commercials. Like you never see that. You're going to have we got State Farm with, I know Coach K and Dawn Staley and Like Under Armour had, South Carolina's team, which, obviously they were thinking they were going to get it. Yeah. But it was, I think we've come really, really a long way, but we still have a lot of work to do. I'm going to move my seat so you can kind of see where I like to see. So I can't tell you, I got a lot going on in this office, but yeah. I'm going to sit where I put some of my recruits. In my Final Four chair, I have two of them from the year 2009 when I was coaching at Louisville, which was a blast. So I'm going to sit in my Final Four chair since we're talking Final Four. For these young ladies, I think this year was the first time that it was different because of what happened last year with all the, it's totally different now with the media, with everything can be videotaped, last year with the videotapes and showing how different it is for the women, the men. But you try to keep growing it. You just try to look and see the good in it, everything. But we do need to keep pushing forward and seeing the positives and growing our game. I mean, we had some incredible things happen this year, and you were right. I mean, like LSU doing what they did, Iowa, even South Carolina being undefeated until that game. That's an incredible feat. Yeah. These people that, are out there, doing things. It's really incredible to make it that far. It is tough, really tough to win day in and day out. Louisville, what they did, I have to always give them a shout out because that's, cards for life kind of thing, Yeah. I mean, it's hard to imagine what, it's a tough thing to do, to go through a season like that and do so well.
And you go back to that 2009, like you said, being a part of the Louisville staff. How did you get your chair back to Binghamton? Because I have a Final Four seat when Syracuse made it in 2013 to what was the Georgia Dome at the time. Now it's Mercedes-Benz when they took that down and built a new stadium. I have it. I'm looking at it right now. I have two of them. And I think I sat on one on the plane. And then I shoved one into my suitcase, and I don't even know how my suitcase closed that day. So I brought the seats from the chair, but you brought the chair. How did you get the chair home?
Oh, my God. Well, no. So Coach Walls, my head coach, when he won the championship at Maryland, they did this for them, too. So he's always done this. They give you, or you buy one. This one's like the commemorative one that they give us. But this is one that we all sat on. So it's really comfy. But Coach Wallace sent it to us. And then as I moved, of course, I'm taking it and I had it at Weber State and I had to bring it here. But we didn't put it on the planes. And it's, they gave it to us. They sent it. They shipped them to us, which was really nice. They did a lot of really cool things. But it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to. It wouldn't have been fun for you. See, that would have been me, though. I would have been, like, carrying the chair through security. I would have just put the chair in and been like, what? We have two carry-ons. I have a bag. That's my other bag. So, but I would have, but I did. With these, I don't even know I don't know how I got them home. It was very, very difficult. But I look at it all the time, and every time I look at it, I go,
how the heck
you fought for that? So
yeah, but when you're in it, they send them to you. They take care of you. You don't have to hijack anything or take it.
No, you don't have to. You have to steal it when you're coming out. But so you've seen success, like you were talking about, and you've had the opportunity to live within that. And in this tournament, like I was saying, the end of this tournament, there's so many things to announce, and people should know this just off of memory. There's no sheets of paper in here. Caitlin Clark, 8 3-pointers in the championship game, never been done. Caitlin Clark, 180-plus points, most points ever scored in a postseason in women's basketball D1, never been done. Then you look at Angel Reese, 34 double-doubles in a season. That had never been done in a single season. And then from there, Iowa had never made the championship. LSU had never made the championship. LSU had never won the championship. And then you look at Kim Mulkey, and she had won 3 other championships, but never at LSU. This was her second season. I mentioned Jasmine. She had not showing up in the stat sheet for game after game after game, scores 21 points in the first half. There's so many things that happened that were great, yet the things that most of the people want to talk about is this and this. So I'd love to get your thoughts, because there's a lot of things that have gone down recently in sports, and it doesn't make sense why we're not putting Caitlin up on a chair, Angel up on a chair, their teams up on chairs, and just, at a party like Wedding Crashers, bouncing up and down, celebrating these amazing women. Instead, we're talking about disrespect of the game and this, that, and whatever, and I just love to get your thoughts.
Well, first and foremost, it's called passion. And when you're an athlete and you're playing in a championship game or leading up to the championship game and the regionals, everything, it's passion. And I love passion. I'm a very, very passionate person, on and off the court, but on the court, it's a whole nother level. I was fortunate enough to play with Angel's mom, Angel, and both Angels. And she was an incredible player, raw athlete that came in and is now a Hall of Famer at UMBC. And she raised her son, Julian, and Angel by herself, and has done an amazing, incredible job. The two of them are incredible young people that are doing incredible things in sports, one at Maryland, obviously one at LSU. And I will tell you, people don't, it's okay, whatever. People are saying all this stuff or whatever, but it's okay, but it's not okay, because here's a young lady that the night before the Final Four game, I got to spend a little time with her and her mom, because, I want to see my teammate and my goddaughter. And Angel, my niece, Carly, who she's never met, FaceTimes me, had no idea I was with Angel. And the whole time, my niece, Carly, was like, yeah, so excited. But Angel took time the night before the game, very, very, sweet to her. She hangs up the phone, and 2 seconds later, Parker, because he can't miss out, calls in. Yeah. And I had said Parker's a big golfer, whatever, and literally sat there for a few minutes and just talked to him. Hey, Parker, will you teach me how to golf? She didn't have to do that. Very engaging, very sweet. And a lot of people don't know these things. They just want to blow things up. And she gave her team in the middle of the season, she has an NIL with coach purses. She gave every one of her teammates a coach purse. For the Final Four, her teammate Flage gave all her teammates those little earbuds. Yeah. And then Angel gave her coaching staff things that you got on, the boy, the ear, whatever. And look, how awesome for women's basketball, but how sad that that's the stuff they want to talk about. I tell you what, though, they put her on SNL. You made it big when you're on SNL. Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. I texted her. I said, what? That's awesome. But just, I'm proud of how, my teammate has raised 2 amazing young people and what they stand for, and winning a championship. How awesome for them. And she was on GMA. That's pretty cool. But what's sad, Dan, is yesterday across my cell phone for 2 hot seconds, what pops up, these kids are fighting for each other, but they don't throw it all over the news when, it was a minute. I haven't heard anything today, but I'm sure I will on SportsCenter.
Motion's boiling over here at Target.
Ron, Rudy, and Kyle, fighting within teammates, fighting? Come on. That's bad stuff.
Yeah. And that's what you just heard here in the studio, is these guys are talking to each other, yelling at each other in a huddle, and
pushing.
Yeah. And
punching.
Then there's a full-out stretch arm punch from Rudy Gobert. Now, the Minnesota Timberwolves won the game, but Rudy Gobert and teammate Kyle Anderson were arguing during a timeout, and there is a punch thrown. You guys could see it anywhere. I'll share it on our social media as well, unfortunately, but so you guys can see it. And so the team sent him home, and this is what was said by the president of basketball operations, Tim Connolly. Quote, "We made the decision to send Rudy Gobert home after the incident in the second quarter. His behavior on the bench was unacceptable, and we will handle the situation internally," end quote. So, this is, it is clear. Now, there's been teammates, and I don't like seeing teammates fight in any stretch of the imagination. I've rarely seen it in my almost 20 years of covering sports, and when you see somebody argue, and I think there was might have been during a college basketball game this season in the tournament for the men's side, but there was like kind of a little back and forth, and I'm watching the TV going, all right, guys, stop. Okay, stop. Like, I'm getting anxiety. To see what Rudy Gobert did, this and this, they're two.
To your teammate.
Yeah,
to your teammate.
Yeah.
Right? On the court, in practice, you guys are battling. I want our kids, we're competitive this year. We're competing against each other. We got a lot of young ones, older ones, and that's competing and passion. That's okay. But during a game, in a huddle, that's not okay. And nobody's like throwing that all over the news, so. But anyway, I found something that I took a picture of because I wanted to talk to you about, like 18.9 million viewers, 9 million social engagements, 9.9 million viewers for the national championship games, championship game for women's basketball. All of this, that's awesome. Like, we're growing. Like, it was packed. Our women's tickets for the Final Four were more expensive than the guys. That never happens.
That was awesome.
But how exciting were those games? Nothing to take away from the men's, but our games are exciting.
Yeah, no, listen, that Final Four, seeing the games the way that they were, the ups and downs, the around the corners. LSU and Virginia Tech, how they traded back and forth, and you didn't know who was going to win that game. And then you look at, South Carolina and what everybody thought was the juggernaut. I don't really think they had control of the game once. They got close, but I don't think Iowa ever relinquished the reins of that game. And you got to stay on. For all four quarters, you got to be almost perfect. And, I think the only thing, and I can say this, and maybe you can since it wasn't your game and not get fined, the only thing I didn't like about the championship game was the officiating. It was awful. So it was not good. I don't know if you could say it, Bethann, but if you want to mouth the words and I'll speak them for you. But the officiating was not great. And in the men's side too, there were some games, and I was told by
questionable. Were there questionable calls? Is that what you're leading to?
I'm asking you if there were questionable calls that could have been called differently if looked at again. Yes.
I don't no. Can I say no comment?
You can. How about this? You can say no, but you can nod. You could do that too.
Yeah. No comment from me.
Okay. Yeah. It was
just in case I can get fined. No, I just want consistency for, whenever we have officiating. And you know how I am, because my dad, he would never let me ever talk about the officials. And I really, truly try not to. Yeah. But it's hard. I think Coach Wells said it great the other day in one of his press conferences at Louisville. It was like I think it was a tournament game. I can't remember. But you know what? We as coaches have to get on, do media. The players have to do media. Why can't they do media?
Yeah.
How about that? Why can't they be interviewed after? We have to, I don't think that's a bad thing. See what that you guys go after, just talk to them. Like, excuse me, but how was that? I don't understand that call. Or
Yeah.
How would they react? I thought Coach Wells said it best when he did it in his interview.
Well, I'm close with two officials, very much so, and Brian Kersey and Mike Kitts, and
Love Mike Kitts.
I've had them on the show many times. We've talked about calls, and Mike doesn't mince words. I talked to Mike about that Memphis FSU game or FAU game, and
FAU.
I said, Mike, I said, forget about how many whatever it takes to screw in a light bulb. How many players does it take to call timeout? And so we were talking about that, and he said, just so you know, those officials did not move on to the next round. And I was like, good. I mean, so not wishing bad, just you don't make a call like that. And again, what were people mad about? They were mad that Penny Hardaway threw a water bottle. He threw a water bottle. He lost a game that was administered by a fantabulously horrendous call. So, and it's to take nothing away from FAU. That run doesn't happen, though, if they made the right call. So, it's a tough thing to have to go through something like that. But yeah, I mean, I try to be nice with officiating as well, Bethann. And, because like I said, I know people in it. I know it's not an easy job, but I do like that. I like the thought of them having to answer questions. I'm sure they wouldn't want to. I do want to let you know we got people all over that are watching and listening. And one of my wonderful listeners is traveling. And so we got some love in Charlotte right now in the Queen City. So we're getting a little shout out from Charlotte, which is a beautiful thing. So let's get into your season and what you accomplished, what you took away as a positive note as we move forward, because we've taken an approach to a lot of different things this morning, looked at a lot of different pieces, but I would love to get into the nitty gritty of the Bearcats and where you feel like you clawed your way up and what's going to happen from here.
Really was very excited about, some of our accomplishments, even though, our record might not have showed it. We were a very young team, but the development through the season was really incredible with, obviously having we had 4 awards, but 2 of our freshmen had an incredible freshman year with Ella Wanzer and Jaden Welts. It was like every other game, one of them would get Rookie of the Week. And they both made the all-rookie team. And they were, obviously those awards are great, but the wins, it was like 2-3 points every time. And it, at the beginning of the season, we did get over those humps with some of our home games at with Army, with Navy, when we were down and came back and got them at the end. We took on the military that past year. We're taking them on now. We have to go on the road though. Next year, it's going to be another battle. And then Danae Bowman being second team all league and all defensive team. And Jaden also was all defensive team, which was, is terrific. All of which they're coming back, and they've already been, in the gym working hard. But reflecting, I'm still going through a lot of stuff. Like I'll watch some of our old games, and you look at different things. When I was at the Final Four, it's nice to get rejuvenated and go listen to other speakers and other coaches on court, off court, state of the game, everything like that. But it really gets me, fired up when I get to see my, people and colleagues to talk to about certain things and how to get over the hump, or watching some on-court stuff to get some, something new nuggets.
Yeah.
But I think our program is, absolutely on the rise. Am I happy with our ending? No. And I'm not blaming anything on, our end with the road and being there and being at Maine and staying at Maine. And it was wild. But I think our future is really bright. And the week, so after, I always give the kids a week off pretty much from being with us to get their school stuff, because they missed a lot of school, and especially with the tournament. And being such a high academic school, it's very, very important. And the kids needed it. And they didn't need to have, our stuff. But I tell you what, they all were in there. I'd walk in and see kids in the gym. And that's what you want. Second week, they could get us if they wanted to get shots up. And Coach Newman was in the gym probably from 9 to whatever, 5, 6, and my other assistants were in there too. They all wanted to get in the gym with Coach and my assistants. And then when I was gone, my staff, who are all incredible, did the workouts, and I got great positive feedback. The kids were working hard, and that's what you want, because this is the time, we talk about, give my husband a little shout out, you plant your seeds, but this is not when you see all the growth. It's throughout, it takes a little time. You keep watering those seeds and watering the plants, watering the trees, and it'll come, the fruit will come. And these kids just keep believing in that process and see how much better they get. And that's part of what I love about this team is you see some of these young ladies that have worked really hard. Look at Evie Genevieve Coleman when she came in. She's a totally different player, and she still has, there's no ceilings with her. Our incoming freshmen, they've got maybe a couple weeks left of school or a couple months, and they're just ready to come. What can we do, Coach? We're pumped. We're fired up. They're playing in all these, all-star games. And, when their names are the team name, that's pretty good stuff. So I'm excited about the incoming freshmen that'll, more competition against each other. And, there's a lot of really good stuff. And I didn't name all the players, but there's some good ones that are working really, really hard. Look at, with Danae and Ella and Jaden, there is not just those three, it's Evie and, another freshman that didn't get, a true freshman, Cameron. She didn't get all the accolades, but let me tell you, that young lady, she's going to be pushing pretty hard this next year to see her name quite a bit, which will be fun.
And you spoke about it, Bethann Shapiro-Ord, Binghamton Bearcats women's basketball head coach. You made mention of, players that could come back this COVID year, that bonus opportunity. What is that going to do with the team leadership-wise, in your opinion, with those that have chosen to return? Because I know you've mentioned, obviously, there's some star power on this team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. And I know a lot of teams are putting things out there, such and such. I'm coming back. I'm doing this. That's fine. That's good. We're just working. We don't have time to do all that. That's that kind of player that's coming back. She's a worker. She wants to get back. She wants to, she's actually going to get her MBA, which is going to be incredible for her. And, getting your degree from Binghamton, first and foremost, is an incredible piece. I told you before, first year out, you were first in the Northeast and fourth in the country of highest paid salaries. And then adding an MBA on top of that. Are you kidding me? So just setting themselves up for life and seeing what they can do. But it is a different time with that. But I'm just thrilled and the team's thrilled, and it's going to be, it's work is work. We have a little chip on our shoulder, the way we ended last year and, what we have to go, but you don't focus on that. You focus on getting to work and grinding it out and keep watering those seeds and planting, good soil and good people. What are you going to get? This team, they are so close. They're such great kids on and off the court. I'm so lucky to have such a really close team, and they play for each other. And it is hard for me. It's heartbreaking as much as I hate to lose, especially when I see these kids working so hard and coming together and playing for each other. It's really fun.
Danae Bowman, on the court, she is blank. Off the court, she is blank. Love for you to impart your thoughts on that. to fill in those blanks, because I know she's a special player, and I got to be around that specialness right away when I came down to Binghamton, and I've gotten to know a little bit of her personality when we've done things like this on Wake Up Call. So Danae, off the court is blank, on the court is blank.
I I have to say, I mean, the first word that comes to my mind for both is work.
Okay.
I mean, it just worker,
Yeah.
really, on and off the court, on and off the court, and just incredible. I mean, just nice kid, really nice kid, very approachable.
Yeah.
You saw when you met her. I mean, really, all my kids are that way, and it's nice to see them. You know, they look at Danae and they see that work ethic, and they realize like that's what we do. Just like when Kai Moon was here, what Kai did for this program, Kai got in the gym too. And there's, you know, like I say, there's no secret sauce. You work, it shows.
Yeah.
You know, and she helped us my second year here have the most wins in Binghamton history. And then COVID hit. But unfortunately, COVID hit for everybody. So I can't use that as an excuse, but it was some times, you know.
So some words to describe before I let you go, Bethann, some words to describe what this team feels like as you step forward. You got to put the work in. Like you said, there's no secret sauce. But on your social media, you are on that recruiting trail, and you love going out and supporting those amazing women that are doing really, really great things in their high school world as they advance forward. So when you are out on the recruiting trail and you're seeing what's coming in, and you know what's coming back, and you know the leadership that you have, I, from my seat, see a Binghamton team that is going to have more wins, that is going to push teams more than they did this year in those close games like you talked about. I see a team that's maybe going to do something special this year. That could be me from my seat. But what does the coach think?
I absolutely agree. I mean, look, last year, I mean, I didn't talk about this game, but our Albany game, Danae was out with an ankle. Out. She wasn't even playing. And our team battled back, up one. I mean, I can't go through the whole thing because I'll get fired up, but up one, 14 seconds, they get to advance the ball. I mean, just things that happen that we learned from. We ended up going into overtime against, at the time, they were number one in the league, Albany, and at Albany, going to overtime and just didn't get it. But they will claw and scratch and fight, not to the other people, literally. But really, you know, like our hashtag this year, the team's motto, what they came up with was one heartbeat. And it really was. And I think carrying it forward and just getting, you know, just continuing to put another layer, another level of toughness. And, you know, that's going to be a big part of it. And I think this group is ready and willing, and I get to work them out this week because they'll be back from spring break. So I'm excited because I have been away from them for a little bit. I mean, I've been here, but not able to do much, although it'll be hard. They're going to be laughing when I try to get out there with this hand and I'm not supposed to. So I have it wrapped up. But I'm really, really hopeful and excited for our future here with this team and how hard they've been working so far in this start of the off season.
And I'm excited too. And I want to go back really quick here to being teammates with Angel Reese, and then obviously being the godmother to Angel Reese that we have all seen here with LSU and all season long, just being incredible, passionate, fun. I like her post-game interviews because I like that she's just in it, you know, and so being that close to the family where you get asked to be a godmother, that's not a small task. And I've waited
it's, you know, I mean, look, I have a lot of former players, teammates, and that have players that are incredible, like incredible.
Yeah.
And let me tell, I mean, I was one of her first offers, obviously. I'm not, but her mom was like, when I was at Weber State, she's like, Bethann, you got to move east. When I got to Binghamton, it was like, okay, she's the number one player in the country. I get it. But I was there for her as far as, we are, we're my teammates, all my teammates are very, very close. We've been on a thread and just congratulating. So excited for our family, for our people and my sisters, just like my teammate or my players know, my college teammates, they're my sisters. It's a sisterhood. And like when my first year here at UMBC, we went play there. It was the first time I had been back and playing against my alma mater. A lot of my teammates were there. And after the game, I brought them all into the locker room so that they could say hi in a few words, and also to show my team that this is what it's all about. You don't remember all those wins and losses and, all that. It's the bus rides. It's the having her as a freshman and Annie, one of the other freshmen. I had two freshmen my senior year. I was a senior when they were freshmen, and just, getting on them and working with them. And to be honest with you, I was the one that I get a little feisty. I was small, so I was feisty, always diving on the ball, and they had my back always. But that's, it's just about that sisterhood and that family, and you take care of your own. And I have players that I coach that now have daughters that are top programs. You wouldn't believe. And it's just that sisterhood. And I'm just so proud of what they all stand for. My teammates, my kids, my nieces, my nephew, all of them. And that's what it's about. When you hear from one of your former players that they had a little kid, or they're, that's what coaching is to me, and being in this great sport and being able to have these relationships and continuing to have these relationships and be there for each other. As women, as people, I mean, coaching is so much more to me than just being on the court and X's and O's. It is so much more. It's about family, which, I got from my parents. I'm just excited to see how things shake up for next year.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, and I love that you imparted, more of who Angel is and her personality, because I don't like when people speak for people, and what she did for your family and the night before a game, that shows her personality. It shows her morals. It shows how she was raised, and I love that, and I'm super happy for her. Also, side note, I love her style, but I feel like she's probably used to it, but that's got to be uncomfortable initially to have one leg just all put together and the other one is, I looked at it and I was like, I guess at one point you just don't feel it, but the kids told me it's swag, because one of my players was wearing it, and I asked, I said, what? I don't understand. Is it because your leg hurts? But I guess it's a swag thing. So I got to get more hip, or we all got to get more hip, Dan. But that's a swag thing. The lashes, I love it. I love everyone's style. It's. Let me ask you this:
you want swag? You got swag.
You're known
to show it.
You're known to wear dresses on the sidelines. So here's my question for you: will you do a half pantsuit, half dress this year?
Half dress, half suit. Wait, what?
A pantsuit, like a dress, but half pantsuit, half dress, to kind of go with the leg short thing. Will you bring swag to it? Are we going to see a different feel?
I don't know. I think I would. I don't know if I could do that. I don't. Yeah, I don't wear sneakers, right?
I don't. No.
So, another side note: when I first got into coaching, I was a young. I was just right out of college, so I dressed up, and that's back then. You dressed up anyway. And watching my dad, but I wore heels and stuff. Thank goodness I had heels on, because literally I wanted to be out there. I wasn't ready to give up my playing career, but you have to, because you've moved on. We didn't have as a short little point guard, you're not going to have that opportunity to go overseas back in the day. So I actually wore sneakers my first year here. It was a kids game. I had a cute Nike dress on, but I had sneakers, and we're at Lowell, Maryland, UMass Lowell
Yeah.
conference game. It's the kids game. It's at their big arena. The place is packed with kids. It was incredible. And I'm in sneakers. All of a sudden, I look next to me and I'm standing next to Tommy, their women's coach. And I went all the way across the court, stood next to, and I said, "Oh my God." I sprinted back. I can't do this. And Devin, my associate head coach, is like, "Coach." Mm-mm. And I keep saying, "What do you think?" She's like, "Nope, you're not allowed to." So I tried it one time in my career, not happening again.
Listen, I like it. I always joke that there's certain coaches that go so far over that they're drinking the Gatorade from the other team's bench. And you
Pretty
were there.
much.
You did it.
Pretty much. He looked at me like he didn't know what to say. Like he couldn't even, and if it was me, I would have probably said, what's going on?
Yeah. I like it though. But that's the fire. That's the drive in you. I still think in heels, as you're telling me that this stops you more than sneakers would. Your passion, it's contagious, and I think that it's fun, and I think it's wonderful. I love first and foremost, if people haven't been down to Binghamton, I love the arena, and I love what
Beautiful.
you're doing. So keep doing it. Keep having fun. We talked about 76 different topics today, but I'm very.
Can we finish with this one?
Yes, I know.
Because I did post it.
Yes, go ahead.
So how about, I got to give a shout out to even though I'm talking about men's basketball. How about Miami men?
Yeah.
How about this guy? My pops. Can you see that picture?
I could see.
Wait, that's grandma. You don't want to see grandma. You want to see. Oh, hang on. I can't. It's my dad.
Yeah.
On top of his 7-foot teammate.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, you saw that, right?
Yeah, the one right here. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, a shout out for Miami men to do that. And even the women, Miami women, first time they went so far, I was so excited for them because he used to, obviously being a player at the University of Miami, I was really pumped for both of them doing so well.
Yeah, and a big fan of Jim Larinaga. I am of
and Katie Meyer. Gotta shout out the girls.
Yeah,
the women.
And I say Larinaga because I've been around him for 9 years, and I just feel like everybody wrote the guy off and didn't even think he was capable of doing anything, right? And he's one of the elder statesmen. So to see what Miami did and to have both of those teams be making history, to Iowa making history, to LSU making history, both on the women's side, to San Diego State making history, the Mountain West making history, UConn getting back. FAU had never won an NCAA tournament game, and they went to the Final Four. So on the men's and women's side, the history was tremendous, beautiful, awesome, made for a lot of fun for me. And I look forward to the day that I get to go see the Binghamton teams vying inside of the NCAA tournament. That's what I want to see, Bethann, because that's how
That's what I want to see too. I'm just saying. That's what I want to see too. And one other thing on another side note before we go is all those teams. Like I had a coach and Coach Blaney, who used to be at Seton Hall and that was at UConn for years as the associate head coach. George Blaney called me when we were on the bus heading to they have a big banquet just for the Final Four teams. You get your ring sizes and all that stuff. But he called and I was shocked when he called me. We were just on the bus heading that way. And he said, Bethann, take this moment. Take a moment when you walk in that building and just look around and take every moment in and enjoy. Just enjoy it and have so much fun. And that's something I tell everybody that I talk to when they are in the tournament or going to the tournament or being part of it, because that is a special thing. And you never know when there's coaches that never get that opportunity. And I'm so glad I did. And I want to be back there for sure at that walking in that arena and just seeing it and feeling it. And I hope all those young people that did experience it, including Angel and all the LSU girls and all the Iowa girls and Caitlin Clark, everybody, I hope they all really, really took an opportunity to enjoy it.
Yeah. And as Bethann and I have shown you today, we could talk forever because this felt like it was 10 minutes and we've been here the whole first hour speaking on all different things connected to basketball, sports, life, family, the things that matter. So Bethann Shapiro-Ord, Binghamton Bearcats, women's basketball head coach. Bethann, I don't know how to say goodbye, so I'll just say see you later. But
see you later. You're coming for a baseball game in our beautiful arena. Let's show you that if you can see it out my window.
That's where I thought you were going when you picked up the camera. I thought we were coming to see this.
I know. I'm sorry. I had to give a shout out to my pops. You know that.
No, you got to do that.
Our arena, what they're doing here at Binghamton with all we don't just say we're building something, we build. And that's what's so awesome. And with our new leadership, with our new athletic director, G. Marshall, I'm excited for you to come up and see it. We'll do a baseball game. So you let me know, or softball, because our softball team's doing great. Women's lacrosse is doing awesome. So would love to have you guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you and I will make a plan. In the meantime, Bethann, thank you for everything you bring to the table. Go sit in your very comfortable tournament chair that only can be sat in by a few people because only a few people make it to the end. So enjoy that. Enjoy your day. Enjoy the sun out in Binghamton. And thank you today because this show and tell was the best one I've seen on the show in a very long time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Dan, have a great day.
All right, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
That coming from Bethann Shapiro-Ord one more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out with you where sports meets life, bringing us so many things in today's conversation. It was fun. It's always fun with Bethann. So, special piece of basketball. She's a special piece of life. She's a great friend to have. And beyond that, I'm really, really honored that she's in Binghamton and that we get to have her in central and upstate New York area. We get to have her here in the southern tier. So much love to Bethann and to all the work she puts in. Shout out to my guy Lavelle and everybody over at Binghamton and to Gene and the leadership that is to come. So we'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll come back on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora right after this for our next guest, which is Brendan Murphy, DT and Murphy, coming up with you right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Hello, my good people of this beautiful internet thing that we have going on. It's new. No, it's not. I'm kidding. So, happy to be back here with you on the show. It was new when I was like 16, 14, something like that. But happy to be here with you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're starting off an awesome week. Happy Easter, everybody. God is risen. There is a God. He does love you. and there is more to this world than the craziness that we experience sometimes. So be good to each other, love each other up, and put God first. It changes everything. I promise you that. It definitely changes things for the better. So happy Easter. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you spent it with people that you love and made some phone calls and some text messages that counted. With that being said, I did that because I reached out to Murph. Brendan Murphy here with us on the broadcast today for DT and Murphy. You're used to having us every other Monday, but I got greedy and I wanted Brendan to be on the show again. So we're doing a shorter version, audio-wise, in today's broadcast, and then we'll be back on video next week. Marywood sportscaster, alum, and a contributor here at Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. We're here to talk about the Masters, the NFL, Major League Baseball with Murph. Brendan, how we doing?
I'm doing well, Dan, and like you said, it was a great Easter. I hope you had a happy Easter with your family as well, and I hope everyone out there had a very happy Easter. This is how you know how dedicated I am. I am currently driving on the Garden State Parkway going home from my from Easter Sunday with my family in South Jersey. So, live from the Garden State Parkway, DT and Murph.
Yeah, that's the thing. Right? That's what we got to shout out. Two things that we've never gotten to say that DT and Murphy was live from the Garden State Parkway. We've never said that before. And the second thing that we have never, that it maybe is history as well, is you're broadcasting from the Garden State Parkway on purpose, and we know how some people drive out there. So we're very, very happy to have you on the show safely.
Anybody who's ever driven on the Garden State Parkway should know you've got to be careful driving, because not only on the Garden State, but drivers in Jersey in general, not the best.
No.
So people drive like kind of maniacs out here. So hopefully we'll be all good during our time here today.
Yeah, I'm just like waiting for the moment where Brendan starts swearing at somebody during the show. Are you kidding me? So, Dan, in the Masters, John Rahm had a really, we're going to do that. You're going to go. Like, I knew you were going to go left. So, John Rahm and Koepka, they had a really good day, and it was great. And I'd love to talk about Aaron Rodgers. And I'd love to talk about this guy that's tailing me. I'm going to put my brakes on. Dan, can we go to commercial? Like, that's what I'm envisioning on the Garden State Parkway this morning.
Basically. But before we get into all the stuff on the Masters, I know we're not going to talk about it, and I know we kind of talked about it at the beginning of last week.
Yeah.
Thank you, UConn, for winning the tournament. So it was a very good day for UConn and for my wallet.
Yeah, Brendan won a lot of money because Brendan in my group of very close friends, Brendan is the person that I go to that I would like to, and he doesn't know this, but I'm going to refer to him for the first time ever on air and to him as this. I refer to him as the Oracle. And so I will be going to the Oracle. So when we do our cabin trip within the next couple months, I will be sitting with the Oracle and saying, where do I put my chips, good sir? And because, he needs to share this wealth a little bit. In The Hangover, they had Galifianakis, right? So he knew what he was doing. That's my Brendan Murphy. He's prettier than Zach Galifianakis if you need to see us side by side. But it gives me an opportunity to say, okay, you know what? We need some money. We gotta get our friend. I'm gonna go to Murph and be like, all right, what am I putting my chips on? What am I doing? Because I don't think I'm ever gonna go to a casino again if I'm not with Murph.
All the chips on black. All the chips on black. Always bet on black.
I like it. Good stuff. So Brendan Murphy here with us this morning. Thank you. Yeah, UConn, you did make him a lot of money. So congratulations to you guys on that. If you didn't know that your championship went a lot farther than Storrs. So much appreciation. A big shout out to Hurley and the crew. And thank you to the team for giving me your time, the student athletes and Dan Hurley, allowing me the opportunity to interview you through the process of winning a national championship. I will always be grateful for that. So, with that being said, let's go to John Rahm. And, a lot of things to talk about. Koepka was in there. Mickelson was in there, 52 years old, in the top two, which I believe was record-breaking. So, would love to get your thoughts on Rahm doing his thing. as well as the field and how it turned out. And maybe throw a little note in there about one of those amateurs finding his way to be in the top 20.
Yeah, I'll start on Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett, the 2022 United States Amateur Champion. For those that don't know, the U.S. Amateur Champion is always guaranteed a spot in the Masters the following year and gets to play the first 2 days with the defending champion. So he got to play his first 2 days with the number one player in the world, Scotty Scheffler. So that was, I'm sure, pretty darn cool for him. But he started off really well. He shot 4 under, so he shot a pair of 68s to start off. But I think the weather changing that we saw on Saturday with the changing course conditions, with the rain that they had all day Saturday, some guys managed to play like a full 18, but it was split over 2 rounds, and that day was really a mess in general. So the fact that they were able to get golf in general that day, as much as they did, was kind of impressive. But it seemed like at that point he got paired up with Koepka and Jon Rahm. I don't necessarily think the spotlight was too big for him, but I think he played well the first 2 days, and then he started to struggle in rounds 3 and 4. And I listened to some of his thoughts afterwards, and it really just seemed like he just didn't hit a lot of good golf shots. And he didn't sound like he was like nervous or anything, which you would think maybe a guy who's an amateur playing with the world number one would be pretty intimidated. But he played well with them, and then he played with Koepka and Rahm when he was tied for second. Things just didn't go his way. And he did win low amateur. All he had to do was make the cut because no other amateur made the cut. So that was pretty impressive for him. But that's a name we're going to hear a lot in the next 2 years, Sam Bennett. But looking at the top 2 guys with Jon Rahm, and even you put Phil Mickelson in that conversation too because he finished with a tied second. We've seen him do that only too many times at the U.S. Open. Now he does it at the Masters this year at 52 years old. Shoots 65 in the final round, which if I was remembering the stats correctly, that's the first time, that's the lowest round he's ever had in the final round of the Masters. So that's pretty darn good for Phil. A lot of these live guys they were talking about wouldn't be able to play the 4 rounds, and round 4 they're going to start to get tired. Phil had the best round on the course in the final round, shot 65, shot 7 under par. That's pretty darn good, pretty darn special. Had the lead in the clubhouse for a long time. Now getting on to the top 2 with Koepka and Jon Rahm. Brooks Koepka came into the final round with a 2-shot lead. Really did not play well on Sunday. And he really struggled with the driver. It was all over the place on Sunday. Between the end of round 3 and going into round 4, the driver was all over the place. He could not hit that thing straight if he wanted to. Couldn't hit it where he wanted to. But realistically, he scrambled well, was playing okay, had to make a lot of bogeys, but that gave Jon Rahm the ability to step up. And Jon Rahm really just did not make any mistakes. He just played a very good round of golf. He didn't, wow anybody. But ultimately, he played a very fundamentally sound round of golf. He hit the driver well. He scrambled well when he wasn't in good shape. And he hit a lot of good iron shots. And he gave himself a chance to win, and that's all he needed. And Koepka I don't want to say Koepka gave it to him, but Koepka left the door open, and Jon Rahm kind of just crept through the door, said hello, and was on his way to a Masters Championship in his first green jacket.
Yeah, and it's an awesome thing. And Bethann Shapiro-Ord, who was on the show in the first hour, she had a green jacket very reminiscent of the beautiful green jacket that we see in the Masters. I mean, what I loved about Jon Rahm, and I mean, obviously his game was good, and in most cases he was untouchable down the stretch there for what he was able to do. But what I loved at the end is what I said to my dad. To see him and his wife come up and cross on the chest, and she comes up and she looks so happy. She doesn't look like, she's out there like red carpet, give me a kiss, red carpet. She was there with him. They were sweethearts in college from Arizona State. I love seeing that. And he picks up one of his kids, and he's playing with them, asking for a kiss, and then they bring the baby in, and they're holding hands the whole way through, walking up there. That was one of my proudest moments, because it was love, it was family, it was goodness, it was passion, it was reality. It didn't seem staged, it seemed genuine, it seemed authentic, and that made me more happy for him. I don't know if you felt that way.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I always think it's really cool when you get to see, especially at the Masters, because you can kind of see them walking up 18 afterwards. I mean, you remember the scene in '97 with Tiger Woods giving a big hug to his dad, and then in 2019 when he won, giving Charlie a big hug, and you kind of see a lot of that with all the Masters champions as they walk up that hill towards Butler Cabin to hand in their cards. But it's a really cool thing. I mean, and John Rahm is just one of those guys on the PGA Tour that I don't really know of anybody that doesn't like John Rahm. And he's really just kind of been this relatively quiet, humble guy that's just really good at golf. And one great thing about him that stands out, at least about his game, if you watch him play golf, he really doesn't have like a weak aspect to his game. Every part of his game is just really, really good. Now, he's not like elite at everything, but he's really good at everything. There's really not one weak area. And for a long time, it was his putting, but ever since he went from TaylorMade to Callaway and started using the white hot putter, he started rolling it really well on the greens, and his putting gotten really good. So putting's not an issue anymore for him. I mean, he was using a Spider when he was with TaylorMade. Now he's using the white hot OG. I think it's the Rossi model, I think is his putter, if I remember correctly. But he hit the ball well. He rolled the ball well. He got up and down well. And he left the ball. His misses were in the right spots. I always tell my students when I'm coaching that one of the thoughts that you need to have in your head before you hit a golf shot is being able to visualize where the right place to miss is. If I'm not going to hit this green, where's the miss? So I'll give you a perfect example. Number 11 at Augusta, at Amen Corner. You got water left. If you miss short right, it's not a big deal. That's the miss, knowing where to miss there. But all his misses were in the right spots. Got to see his wife, his kids, and at the end, I always think it's really cool when you get to see the family come together at the end of a tournament.
Yeah.
The one that always sticks out to me, though, was, remember during COVID, during 2020, when Bryson won the U.S. Open, that was kind of sad because he had to Zoom call his parents. That was the second major back, and he literally had to Zoom with his parents after he won. That was kind of sad that his parents weren't able to be there for that. But that was just the reality of the world during the pandemic. But overall, I always think that's a really cool piece that you see at the end of a tournament, especially a major like this.
Yeah, and I remember Tiger in that moment and that emotional, now that we're talking about it, I remember that. I remember his smile. I remember his hair that day. I remember, just the tears and the excitement, and then watching, John Rahm this time around with his family, like, so beautiful and just, poetic. It was awesome, and it was so much fun. And Mickelson, for goodness sakes, this man, they've tried to write him out of the game, I think, a bunch of times, and he's still writing his story, which I love. And I feel horrible for Tiger having to pull out from the Masters, but you see Phil Mickelson and everything he's been through, everything his family's been through, the cancer, sickness, stuff he's had to deal with. He is a trooper. His loved ones are troopers. The spirits must be really high in that family and extended family. So, I love seeing Mickelson do it. Koepka, obviously, fun to see what he was doing. Bennett, like you mentioned, and the work that he's done, and John Rahm. This was exciting. I grew up on the Davis Love the Thirds and the Payne Stewarts, and Tiger really got me into it. But darn it all if this wasn't a lot of fun. and Mickelson being in the top two, if that's not tremendous and shows where he's exactly at when people, like I said, have been trying to write him off. Oh, he's going to go to the LIV. Who cares? He's washed up, blah, blah, blah. And obviously that's not the case when you finish in the top two in the Masters. So, this was wonderful. And I'm marveling the fact of somebody being double digits under par. I mean, I'm just thrown by that when it's like, oh, he's just a cool -12. And I'm just like, I mean, the course is beautiful. It was only like 63 degrees, I think, last night when they were finishing up at Augusta. And, but a great event, great time. Yeah, my dad's eyes light up when he watches it, which is really special for me, too.
Yeah, and that's one of the most amazing golf courses in the world. I mean, if not, other than St. Andrews, it's probably the most iconic golf course in the entire world. So being able to see that setting, I mean, it's unlike anything you've ever seen before. And the crazy part is, they really don't make a ton of money off the Masters. So obviously for those of you that don't know, there's a huge lottery to buy tickets.
Yeah.
You got to submit your name months in advance, and you can't even buy tickets unless you get lucky and get selected. So sometimes, if you get lucky and get selected to buy tickets, then you can buy tickets, but they're not all that expensive.
Yeah.
A pass for all 4 days of the tournament is like $300. They do not make a lot of money off this tournament. Food is cheap. Beer is cheap. Merchandise is not all that expensive.
Yeah.
They literally refuse to take sponsorships from a lot of companies. They have 5 sponsors the entire tournament. They control the streaming rights. They have 1 2-minute stretch of commercials every hour at most. That's it. They control the streaming rights. It's great. If anybody has listened to Masters.com or gone on the Masters app or Masters.com and seen any of the stuff that they do during the Masters, that's the coverage. It's great.
Yeah.
This way you actually get to see, you get to see all sorts of different streams. You have the one in Amen Corner. You have the featured groups. You have, I think it's 4, 5, and 6, and then 14, 15, 16. Those 3 holes. It's awesome. It really, really is. But the Masters is the tournament every year for most people in America. Now, overseas in the UK, obviously the Open Championship, the British Open, is their big one. And obviously this year it's going to be at Hoy Lake at Royal Liverpool, and we're really looking forward to that in July. But the Masters is the one everybody looks forward to. I know somebody like Rory always looks forward to it because that's the last leg of the career Grand Slam that he needs. You've got Phil, like you mentioned, 52 years old, going out there and coming in tied for second.
Yeah.
Winning $1.5 million. That's really, really dang impressive for a guy like Phil. And not necessarily just for, him as a player. And as we're talking about, I'm getting off the Garden State Parkway, and Tesla just cut me off.
There you go. But, we were waiting for the moment.
Eventually, we knew it was going to happen eventually.
Oh yeah.
But the thing with Phil was not really playing that well coming into the Masters. But you had to know at that place he was going to figure it out. And if there was any kind of big stepping stone for him to jump back out there and be great, that was it, to come into the Masters and play well. And he did. So I'm really interested to see how he does on Live the rest of the year. I'm really interested to see how he does in the U.S. Open this year. Who knows? He's coming 6th and 2nd in the U.S. Open 6 times. Yeah. That's the last leg of the career Grand Slam he needs. Can he do it? My gut says no, but you never know. I also didn't think he would win another major, and yet he won the PGA in 2021. So that was pretty darn impressive for Phil.
Yeah, and again, it's the memories. It's the memories you create, with your loved ones, and what I get to create with my dad has been so much fun. So it's been wonderful, and it was just great. It was great to do it and great to see it. And like I said, to sit there with Pops and just kind of take it all in was really cool for me and a good moment for us. I know it meant something to him because growing up, I never liked to watch golf. And so, you know, it was a wonderful Easter, spent very well in good company with my pup while she was very content with her grandpa and her dad. So here with Brendan Murphy, more content than the Garden State Parkway. So with that being said, and I might have something that's going to take me to New Jersey in the not too distant future, and I'm taking a train or a plane. I'm not driving. I'm not going to do it unless Brendan wants to take me. But with that being said, Major League Baseball, NFL, we got a couple minutes, brother. So any specific topics you want to jump into? Odell Beckham Jr. is a Raven, which would make me believe that Lamar Jackson's going to continue to be a Raven, or else why bring Odell in when you have that type of name and everything attached to that name? So maybe we could start there, but wherever you would like to go. Aaron Rodgers is still not a Jet, folks, so let's talk about the fact that I said that doomsday clock is still running like I told everybody it could be, because I may not know a lot of things, but I do know crazy people, and I do know egomaniacs. And when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, I seem to have pegged it right so far, and I wanted to be wrong, but Aaron, he's towing that line of really talented and really outrageously annoying. And now he's leaning on the other side of it, where I don't care anymore. I don't even care how talented he is. I'm just at a point where I'm like, dude, it's too dramatic. It's too annoying. It's too ridiculous. You know, and what are you going to do? You're going to wait until after the draft? If I'm the Jets, in the third or fourth round, I would draft a quarterback just in case, to get some guy that you can grab and stash and have there and grow just in case you need it. Don't waste an early pick on it, but don't not do it at all. So maybe we start there. Maybe we start with Odell and Lamar, wherever you would like to, Murph. Fire away.
We could start with Odell and Lamar, because obviously, you know, we could talk about the Jets for hours, but, you know, that was totally a surprise last night, because he was supposed to take a trip to Florham Park today, actually, to meet with the Jets and maybe potentially hammer out a contract. You know, I think was it 15 or 16 million guaranteed that he's getting from Baltimore. But, you know, he's going to go play receiver for Lamar. I don't know how well he's going to do there, because he's going to be getting ganged up on. I don't know if he's a number one receiver anymore. I really don't. I mean, because to be honest, with the Jets, they probably could have come somewhat close to the money. I know he did go give the Jets a chance to match it, and they decided not to. And probably, I don't want to say better off, but probably better off, because he's not the best locker room guy. Would have been a headache that we didn't really need, with Aaron Rodgers already coming in and hopefully soon. But I think that makes sense a lot for the Ravens. It's a good move. I mean, your top receiver, Rashad Bateman's been hurt the last 2 years. So, you know, can he be your number one still if he's healthy? Who knows? I mean, that could take some pressure off. Having Odell could take some pressure off him. And, you know, we'll see. And ultimately, it's going to come down to what they're able to do with Lamar.
Yeah.
Now, is Lamar going to be happy now? I mean, who knows? But now they've got him a weapon, apparently, that he's been wanting all this time. So what are they going to bring him back for? Is he going to sign the tag? Is he going to commit to a long-term extension? Who knows? But we'll have to wait and see with that. I think it's a solid move for Baltimore, but it could be one of those moves that goes either way.
Well,
but
here's the thing.
Topic of yeah, go ahead.
I do want to say this really quick. So it's worth up to $18 million. This is where my frustration comes in, because if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm like outrageously frustrated right now. You don't want to sign me to a long-term deal, but you're going to give almost it's worth up to $18 million, $15 million guaranteed to Odell Beckham Jr. So this man has not played. You're going to give him $15 million guaranteed. He could get $18 million with the incentives and all that good stuff. So it's a 1-year deal worth $18 million. Yet Lamar, and maybe that's what the Ravens are saying. Hey, we're going to test you out. We're going to test out Odell. If you can't work with Odell, we're going to let you go. We're just trying to test it. We're just trying to see. And I feel like if I'm Lamar and I see a guy coming in who hasn't played football in recent history making almost $20 million in a year, I would be like, bro, what do I have to do? I'm the face of your franchise. So I would have a gripe if I'm Lamar saying, okay, that's all well and good that you brought in Odell, but you talk about me being injured and maybe that's why you don't want to give me the money. This man wasn't even playing. So I don't know. I feel like it could like backfire on them that they're giving him as much money as they are. But they got to figure something out with Lamar. They built the entire team around him. So you're either going to continue to build around him for the next 4 to 5 years, or you're going to blow it all up and start over again. And does John Harbaugh want to do that in his career right now? I would think no, but we'll see, Murph. What was the thing you wanted to get into here?
Yeah, if they blow it up, I don't think Harbaugh's going to be there to see it.
No.
I think he would step away because I don't think that's something he would want to deal with.
No.
But like you said, I mean, Lamar's probably at least a little bit frustrated. But at the same time, you've heard me say on this show before, I do not like Lamar. Fine as a person, I hate Lamar as a player. I do not think he's very good. I do not think he deserves the money that he's asking for. And I think ultimately that's the reason why the Ravens aren't giving him that. Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns set a horrible precedent for the Baltimore Ravens.
They did.
And he almost thinks that the Browns did that to make the Ravens and Lamar be frustrated with each other and end up separating. So that'd be a hell of a conspiracy theory. But all I can say is Deshaun Watson did not deserve that contract he got. Lamar did not deserve a contract like that. If Deshaun never got that contract, Lamar would not be asking for it. I can promise you that. But ultimately it is what it is. We'll see what happens there. But like we were talking about briefly with Aaron Rodgers, at this point it just comes down to compensation. I mean, Rodgers has his mind made up. He's already been seen working out with Alan Lazard. So at this point, in my mind, he's going to be a Jet. It's just a matter of the Joe Douglas and I'm not sure who the GM of the Packers is, but just a matter of them ironing out the details and figuring out what the compensation is. And it sounds more like they want to get this done before the draft, which makes a lot of sense. And it also sounds like the Jets are going to hold on to that number 13 pick, which is awesome because now we can draft an offensive lineman to come in and protect Rodgers' blind side. I'm assuming we'll have to give up at least one of those second-round picks. We won't have a third, but we'll have a second, so I'm okay with that. It's ultimately going to come down to what the price is. And I think the Packers just seem like they're being stingy about the price. Early on, we thought it was going to be once Rodgers decides he wants to be a Jet, it's done. Like they have the details worked out pretty much already. But now it's been, almost a month since he came out on the McAfee show and said he's going to play for the Jet trade.
Well, because
I definitely think this has to do with the team more so than Rodgers. I think Rodgers has kind of just said, get it done so that I can get to work. But, ultimately it comes down to what the Packers want. And I completely understand them wanting good value for him because he is a generational talent.
Yeah.
Yes, he is 39 years old, about to be 40, and he's the greatest quarterback in the history of their franchise, arguably, and the most talented quarterback to ever play football. But you got to realize, there's only one horse in this race. It's only the Jets. So, not that the Jets have leverage, but neither do the Packers. And what you also said, though, about drafting a quarterback in the middle rounds, I'm all for that. I'm all for that Rodgers or no Rodgers. I'm all in to maybe go out and see if you can get Hendon Hooker with like a 4th-round pick. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to go a little higher. But Hendon Hooker, Stetson Bennett, I'm not opposed to one of those guys being on the roster as a developmental player. Sit behind Rodgers, and who knows, maybe they're good. Maybe you play them for a year, and if they're good, great. You roll with them for years. If they're not, you only spend a 4th-round pick. You can always change it up the year after.
Well, and that's the thing. So to me, and what Rodgers needs to understand is you might have picked the team you're going to play for, but that's not who the team. That's not the team you signed the contract with. So you could say what you want to say, do what you want to do, act like you want to act. The Addams Family. That's that song, MC Hammer. But that's not reality. Okay, it's not reality. You can choose whatever you want to. Like I could be dating a girl right now. I could be dating a girl named Samantha. I'm dating Samantha. I haven't broken up with Samantha. Samantha and I are doing all right. But I see Stacy walk down the street and I go, Samantha, I want to date Stacy. You need to make that happen for me. She's not gonna make that happen for me. So I mean, it's just Aaron's. You talk about dangerous precedents from Deshaun Watson. There's a dangerous precedent of you just signed a contract. You just signed it. I cannot express enough that Aaron Rodgers said the statement, I think people forgot I was a Packer. Nobody forgot. You did. No one else forgot. You forgot you were a Packer. You're not a free agent every year. You're not. And the amount of money that they're spending on you, they could tell you sit, shut up, like it. They could do to him what they did to Barry Sanders. They could say, you're never going to play in the NFL again unless you're a Packer. They could say that. Because they spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of BS to get to that contract that he doesn't want. So if I were them, I would have turned around and said, hey, you know what? You want to be a Jet? You could be a Jet in 4 years. Love you back. They could say that. Love you back, baby. Love you back. So, I mean, that's Aaron needs to get it.
Been committed to Jordan Love at this point. So I think it'd be foolish for them to take him back. Because realistically, if they take him back, he's going to have to play. That's going to get Jordan Love pissed off because he's only got one more. They only got to decide on his fifth-year option this year, or this coming after this season. So they got to figure out what they want to do with him. And ultimately, if they decide not to trade him, Rodgers is still entitled to that money.
Yeah.
So he can sit around and twiddle his thumbs, destroy the franchise, and still get paid $150 million to do it. And I'm sure he wouldn't care.
Brandon, so, I got a question for you. Is it Halloween? Is it Halloween today? Because Aaron Rodgers is doing his best impersonation of Brett Favre. I thought it was Halloween, but I could be wrong. And just like Brett Favre, he's in and out with the Packers, and eventually, will become a Jet. So, with that being said, I appreciate you being on the show. Murph and I will be back next week. We will be picture in picture again. We will have a fantastic broadcast with you. We'll get into baseball because we didn't get into baseball today. But Murph, I appreciate you. I never like saying goodbye, so I'll say see you later. Thank you for broadcasting DT and Murphy from the Garden State Parkway, and for being safe while you did it. But yeah, man, we could get going. I got to make sure I get Alex Dodd here on the broadcast, being patient. But we open a lot of doors today, as we always do, Murph. And I don't know how to end it except for stay tuned to next week is what I'm going to tell. And Aaron Rodgers probably still won't be a Jet, so we'll have plenty to talk about.
Probably not.
Yeah. Thanks, Murph.
Sounds like it might be your birthday, so we'll see.
We'll see. You got a better chance of finding a good driver on the Garden State Parkway than Aaron Rodgers being a Jet this week. So, I hope you have a good day. Take care, buddy. Thanks, man. Talk to you. That coming from Brendan Murphy here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Didn't want to come off the show with him at all because we had some baseball to get to, but that gives you something to look forward to, right? Something toward the future. A lot of great conversation. Come back next Monday for more. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, Alex Dodd will be joining me to talk about the ACC disrespect, God, family, and faith, things that matter above everything else. And we'll get into college basketball and his thoughts on a very interesting postseason. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavocollis.com. That's myavocollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And then them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, hanging out with you where sports meets life. We appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm sure we'll go a few minutes past 11 this morning because I got my guy Alex Dodd here on the broadcast, longtime sportscaster and writer. And we are here today to discuss the ACC, the disrespect, college basketball, the fact that if you're a Big Ten team and you play 9 games and win one of them, you can get into the tournament. I mean, it's like how many games does everybody else play? 31? Just play 9. Play 9, try really hard, There's a quality loss factor we're going to throw in there for you guys. I mean, 13 loss teams are getting it. And obviously, I'm being facetious about the 9 games, but I'm not being facetious about 11 to 13 losses and that being good enough. And I'm telling you right now, the committee may not admit it, but there was something that existed called a quality loss this year because the Big Ten had them. They had a lot of them. So we will discuss, and I would love to talk about how the Big Ten was in the national. Oh, they didn't make it. Or in the final. Oh, they didn't make the Final Four. Wait, where did they make it to? Did they make it out of the round of, they made it out of the round of 64? Okay. So, our statisticians here at Dan Tortora Broadcast Media are working diligently to try and find what Big Ten team advanced to the 0%. Oh, that's pretty simple. Okay, 0% did it. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's a little in the ear for you this morning. So Alex Dodd here with me today on the broadcast, and we're going to have some fun. The ACC wins games. That doesn't matter. The Big Ten, well, they're just happy to be here, and they got a cookie for being a part of the tournament. So I'm definitely spicy this morning. Happy Monday. Alex Dodd, how we doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, Dan. It's always great to be on the show, and man, this is something that I've been really aggravated with for about 4 weeks, and I finally started to not think about it. And then you texted me and said I need to come on the show and talk about it, so I'm fired up again.
Yeah.
It seems like what you're saying, that what we talked about in the break is that this isn't just a basketball thing. This is a across all sports thing now, that the ACC is getting treated like the redheaded stepchild, despite its historic and recent success on the national stage. So let's get into it. Why don't we?
Yeah, I mean, and that's, we were talking about it off the air. I don't know. I have no idea what the Big Ten, what are the plans? And this is what makes me believe that when the SEC breaks away and does their own thing and lives their own life with 20 teams, maybe Clemson, maybe Florida State, maybe Miami, we'll see. But when the SEC, I believe, becomes its own entity, because I've thought this for a couple of years now, when that happens and the Big Ten tries to run behind them and say, don't forget about us, there's this thing where I believe that what is happening in the background, the shadow that some people are oblivious to, is there's preferential treatment for the SEC and preferential treatment for the Big Ten, and that is happening because something's happening. And I don't think people are seeing that thing is happening, because the powers that be are trying to make you believe the Big Ten's as good as the SEC, but that's a funny joke. They should probably do stand-up. Maybe there can be a Netflix special about the Big Ten and their connection to these committees. But the Big Ten, to me, and I would say this about any conference with unfair treatment, so don't come at me about the Big Ten. I would say it about the ACC, the Big East, Big South, Big whoever. I would say this conversation the same way if it was somebody else. Let me preface that way, because people in 2023 get very emotional when they don't listen to every word and they take pieces out. So the SEC, here's the thing about the SEC. They get preferential treatment, but they back it up.
Yep. When it comes down to the brass tacks, the SEC makes good on what they're given by these committees.
Yeah, they do.
In all the major sports and all the revenue sports, in the non-revenue sports, the SEC, when they get teams in a national tournament, they take advantage of it. They do it in football. They do it in college baseball. They do it in college basketball. I mean, hell, they did it in the women's tournament with LSU this year. And they've done it in recent years with South Carolina in that sport too. When the SEC gets these extra spots, they take advantage of it. The Big Ten, what you're saying, it's exactly the opposite. The Big Ten completely falls on their face every year in the postseason in every sport, and yet they still get this preferential treatment. And the ACC, talking about basketball, gets punished for playing more conference games, and it really is ridiculous. They need to release some more details on what goes into the accounting for this for the net rankings, because some of the things in the net were just baffling this year, even within the ACC. I mean, talk about Clemson. Clemson had a 700 winning percentage in conference play, beat the crud out of NC State 3 times, including 3 days before Selection Sunday, and was left out of the dance, and NC State got to get in. But then even talking cross conference, you have a team from the SEC like Mississippi State that gets in the tournament with a losing record in conference play, and you've got a three seed from the ACC that couldn't make the dance. So it's baffling, and the Big Ten in particular is the one that really makes you scratch your head. This year's tournament in general was a head scratcher, though. I think it's good for the sport to have as many conferences represented in the Sweet 16 as we did. It was good to have some mid-majors have success in the tournament this year, win a national title again. But the way that the disparity between the power conferences, when these committees sit down and do their work, it's getting to almost be laughable. The amount of preferential treatment that the Big Ten in particular gets every year in every sport, regardless of their track record or how these teams fare on the national stage.
Yeah, and put very well. The SEC gets preferential treatment. The Big Ten gets preferential treatment. The Big Ten doesn't back it up. The SEC backs it up. The SEC figured it out, okay? Arkansas took down the reigning national champion, the number 1 seed. Goodbye. Have a great day. Eric Musselman. I told him, I said it to him after the game. I said, you advanced, your team advanced, but your shirt didn't to the next round. So Arkansas does it. But what did Purdue do as a number 1 seed? Purdue lost to a 16 seed. The record, 150 wins for number 1 seeds, 2 wins historically for 16 seeds. Fairleigh Dickinson beat you. And Purdue's already had issues. And people say to me, well, Dan, what about Virginia? What about Virginia and UMBC? What about that game, Dan? Well, I'll tell you, back in the day, they were playing a really good impression of the Big Ten. And if Virginia had 13 losses this year and were in the middle of the pack, they would have made the tournament if they were in the Big Ten. It doesn't make sense. I called the West Virginia, which is in the Big 12, I called the West Virginia-Maryland game a game of who cares who wins because neither team should have been in the tournament. And it's I'm not disrespecting the schools. I'm saying to you, neither one of these teams did enough to get into the tournament. I would rather put in another team from the A10. I would rather put, you look, when you really sit and break it down mathematically, and I've done this on the show, but I'll do it again. When you break it down mathematically, there's 32 conferences, 32 conference tournament champions, automatic bids. Of the remaining spots of 68 total, there's 36 at-large spots. When you factor in the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, the Pac-12, which are all the autonomy group, and then you put in the Big East, they account in 6 conferences for about 26, arguably, of the 36 remaining spots, which means that 26 conferences are fighting for 10 at-large berths. Almost 3 times the amount of conferences remaining are fighting for the spots that are left. 10 spots. And when you factor in that you're giving the Big Ten 7 to 9 spots a year, now you're taking from not only those 26 conferences that are only going to get their conference tournament champion in, but you're also taking from the Big East, you're taking from the Pac-12 that didn't have a lot this year, you're taking from all these other conferences. It doesn't make logical sense to give 26 spots of the 36 at large to 6 conferences and tell 26 conferences, good luck getting the final 10 spots, because those final 10 spots are teams that are beating these teams. The automatic bids from the conferences that people aren't paying attention to, from the Horizon League, from the NEC, and so on and so forth, they're beating your Big Ten teams. They're beating your schools inside of the autonomy group. I would rather see 2 come out of Conference USA, because look at this year. Now they're going to be the American, but FAU wins Conference USA. UAB beat them during the season. North Texas and UAB, not even considered to get into the NCAA tournament, and they were in the national championship playing against each other like it was another conference tournament game. So here's North Texas and UAB, and nobody wants to talk about that. And then there's FAU. Those 3 teams should have made it to the tournament. I argued that FAU at 31-3 would have not even made the NCAA tournament if they didn't win the conference tournament championship. And case in point, where was North Texas? Where was UAB? What did they do? They didn't get any respect. And they said the College of Charleston, to talk about South Carolina for a second, at 31-3 would not have made the tournament either if they didn't win their conference. So you're going to take 30-plus win teams and not let them go forward so that you can have a 13-loss, ninth in the conference Big Ten team get in the tournament so that they can win a game. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about mid-majors, Furman is a great example that beat Virginia in the tournament this year. Furman has had one of the winningest basketball teams in the country over the last decade and hasn't made the tournament since the 1980s because the Southern Conference is a one-bid league. The same thing that you're talking about with College of Charleston out of the CAA is these conferences that, make noise in the dance. The Southern Conference has made plenty of noise in the big dance over the last 20 years. Wofford's had some big wins in the NCAA tournament in the past, and Furman was the big win this year. But it's a one bid league. When the Big Ten gets to send 8 teams and have a losing record as a conference in the dance every postseason. So I'm the same way. If you're going to give the 8th place team in the Big Ten a bid for the NCAA tournament, why not just give that bid to a mid-major instead of letting the Big Ten fall on its face on the national stage yet again? But instead, that's what we're going to continue to get. It makes me want to put a tinfoil hat on and throw out conspiracy theories, but today is not the day for that. I know I took a red-eye flight, but I got enough sleep to not do that this morning.
Yeah, if we go back and we look at this, I believe the Big Ten's record in the NCAA tournament this year was 6-8.
Yep.
So, hello. It's 6-8. That's your record, and it doesn't make sense to me, which leads me into the conferences that aren't getting love. With a record of 14-5 last year in the NCAA tournament, the ACC got little to no respect.
And the ACC went 7-5 in the tournament this year, and Miami with a great run to the Final Four, and they ran into a buzzsaw in that game. But it is frustrating. I find it hard to believe that Clemson or North Carolina couldn't have made a splash if they were given a good seed in the tournament. And the ACC didn't get favorable seeding in the dance either. So I think a couple of those teams deserved higher seeds than they got, and still for the conference to come out with a winning record again in the tournament this year. It just goes to show the point that we're talking about. And also, I don't really understand why the ACC gets punished for playing more conference games than everybody else. And maybe that's one of the things that they need to fix in the spring meetings is, hey, guys, if we're getting punished for playing all these conference games, maybe we need to break it up a little bit. Maybe we need to play less and do more of this out-of-conference work in January to show that, our teams do grow over the course of this conference season, and they're not the same teams that they were in November. Teams from the ACC getting punished for what happened in November is a really frustrating recent phenomenon because you know that a team in March is not the same team it was in November. Everybody knows that. Every coach will tell you that. Jim Larranaga will tell you that about his Miami team, that they aren't the same team this month that they were in November, and it showed on the national stage. But instead, you've got teams who are getting punished for what happened in an NBA arena with 6 fans in the stands in the middle of the day in November when they went out and played ball in March when it matters most.
Well, and here with Alex Dodd, a longtime sportscaster and writer, speaking with me on ACC disrespect, college sports in general, and God, family, and faith. We look at, going off of what you were talking about, with the transfer portal and everything that's been going on, your team doesn't know who the heck they are in November. They don't know who they are in December. That's ridiculous. And here's the vicious cycle of rankings. When the media and the coaches band together and make decisions and storylines before the season starts, they say these are the teams that we think are going to be good. And if those teams win, no matter who they beat, they hold them there. It's so easy. You see it in the college football playoff all the time. And when people didn't believe me that the Big Ten got preferential treatment, COVID hit, and then we really got to see, because the Big Ten said, we're not going to play sports like the ACC and the SEC. We care about safety. 6 games into the season, they said, oh, I just got a bunch of Instagram posts of all these people at the party. We need to go to this party. I heard it's pretty good. We need to get out there. I don't want to be the only people that didn't show up to this party. It's the party of the century. So they show up 6 weeks in, and here's the crazy part, and here's the kicker. The Big Ten had not played in 6 weeks. It was like 6 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it may be. They were put into the rankings nationally with records of 0-0. Michigan was ranked. Ohio State was ranked. There was a bunch. I think Penn State was ranked. They were all in the top 25 at 0-0. Teams that had played multiple games, 4 games, 5 games, 6 games already, and they were getting ousted by that. And not just in. Ohio State was ranked in the top 10, top 8. This made no sense to me. Michigan rose 4 spots from 1 week to the next and didn't play a game. They rose up 4 spots for being 0-0. What'd you say?
That was unbelievably frustrating, and it worked in the Big Ten's favor. Is what maybe makes it even more frustrating than that is that these teams, not only did they get rewarded with national rankings and a playoff spot for playing less games, but their team, Ohio State, looked better in the playoff for having played less games because they were healthier than everybody else.
Well, and
they got to rest while everybody else was out, playing a full schedule.
and the other part of it too is Ohio State wasn't supposed to play in the championship. It's supposed to be Northwestern, but they put Ohio State in the championship because they changed the rules. Because Ohio State couldn't play all their games, played 5 games. And then they made sure in the college football playoff that they extended the time until the college football playoff semifinal so that Ohio State could get healthy. So in that one season alone, if you didn't believe the Big Ten got preferential treatment, somebody must have done a lobotomy on you. So you look at that, you look at those moments, you look at that time period, and you say to yourself, let's go not this past season, let's go a season back. When Michigan State lost to Purdue. And Purdue wasn't ranked in college football. And the next week, Purdue showed up in the rankings and then immediately left the next week in order to show that Michigan State had a quality loss. They're like, oh, Purdue? Yeah, they suck. Oh, they beat Michigan State? Well, we got to keep them in the top 9. So put them back in, or put Purdue in for the first time this season, and then let's just have them disappear. Let's say they were really, really good for a week, so it's a quality loss, because everything is... Ohio State and Michigan are set up all the time. I told people without fail, without doubt, there was 3 weeks left in the season a few seasons ago. Ohio State was in the college football playoff, according to the quote-unquote experts, and I use those quotes very loosely. So the experts say Ohio State's going to be in the college football playoff, yada, yada, whatever. 3 weeks left, Michigan, Michigan State. Both had to play Ohio State. I said, mark my words. If one of these 2 teams beats Ohio State and wins out, they go 3-0 in their last 3 games and beats Ohio State, they will take the spot of Ohio State in the college football playoff because they will have a Big Ten school in no matter what. So it's either Ohio State or whoever beats them. Michigan beat them, Michigan went in. Case in point. And Aiden Hutchinson and that entire team got embarrassed. So it doesn't make sense. And then someone will say, well, Dan, Ohio State beat Clemson recently, so what do you have to say about that, Buck? What I have to say about Ohio State is when they played Clemson a few years ago, they almost got shut out. They looked terrible. They looked awful. They laid nothing out there. I remember watching that Clemson-Ohio State game. It was an abysmal performance of nothingness. The reality of it all is they haven't backed up their college football playoff bids. They haven't backed up their tournament bids. So, Dodd, what do we do? What needs to be done? Because FAU was the only team to represent Conference USA, and Conference USA with 1 team in the tournament, not 8, had a better winning percentage than 8 teams combined. The probability of the Big Ten having a better winning percentage with all of these chances was so high, yet Conference USA with 1 team outdid them in the tournament. And there's many conferences that outdid them in the tournament, and the ACC with far less teams outdid them in the tournament. And Clemson deserved to be in because NC State got in and Clemson had beaten them and embarrassed them. So I'm at a loss right now because I thought that math should have a place in this. I thought that common sense should have a place in this. I thought that looking at the fact that, the amount of losses and the games you've lost and what you've done, any of these things should make sense. But the reality of it all is whatever the preseason narrative is never goes away. And once there's a narrative created in October and November, whether those teams are good or they suck, the narrative was created because there's no way in hell that an ACC team with 11 to 13 losses would even have been in the conversation in the room for the selection committee a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, unbelievably frustrating. And we know what needs to be done. What needs to be done is instead of people just burying their head in the analytics, they need to watch some of these games and see what these teams are doing on the floor, see who they're beating head to head, instead of just looking at, how they looked on their worst day. How about you look at how they looked on a normal day? How about you looked at how they looked on their best day? Instead of only looking at the good loss, bad loss, which seems to be way more of the focus in football and basketball, in the non-revenue sports as well. People are way too focused on good loss, bad loss, instead of who you beat. And I know, I get it. I wouldn't want to be on the selection committee. It's an unbelievably hard job to look at all of these teams that are so close together in a lot of aspects and have to decide between them. It's a daunting task, but something's got to be done about it. And you shouldn't get rewarded just for running up the score in a game. You should get rewarded for who you beat and how you took care of business when you stepped out on the floor. And what you look like, what's your roster look like, what's your starting lineup look like compared to some of these other teams, instead of just looking at the analytics and what the net rankings say you should do or what Joe Lunardi says you should do. You should actually watch the games and figure it out for yourself. But that may be too much to ask, and we may be too far gone. Who knows? A lot of this landscape's changing faster than we can keep up with it, and who knows what's going to happen this summer. And if you're the ACC, you better get this figured out faster than not, because if you don't, there's schools that are losing a lot of revenue by sticking in the conference, and they'll jump if they have to survive. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, I think the Big Ten, I know they have 14, soon to be 16 schools, but I think they should keep the name the Big Ten because that's how many teams they send to the tournament. So that would make sense, I guess. And then the committee could just be honest about everything, and that would be cool too. It is a really tough task, and I don't envy the selection committee. What I don't like is when there are blatant preferential treatment moments that are, it's outrageous. And honestly, you should be kicked off the committee if you commit a party foul like that. And I don't care if it's one. You commit why are they there? Because I really like them. Okay, well, that's not a reason. So it should be based on who you're playing. And the ACC proved it. The ACC proved it last year. They're like, well, if this team at the top is losing to the team at the bottom, well, then this conference is just not good. No, the conference was better than any other conference in America, arguably. And they were beating up on each other because parity was running rampant and an all-time high in the ACC. And there was no 1 through 15. The 15th, some weeks was 2. The 2 was some weeks was 10. That was just the reality of it all inside of the ACC. It was a gamut. It was difficult. Not as difficult this year, but, the talent's been good, and the coaching's been good, and the teams have been good. So what's the remedy, Dodd? Do we play less conference games? Because 20 is, in my opinion, outrageous. This is what I would like. Because Syracuse plays 31 games. So they played 20 conference games, 11 non-conference. I want to shrink it to 16, and I want to give those 4 games back to non-conference so that Syracuse could play every year. Georgetown, Villanova, St. John's, UConn. Why do I want to play those games? Because no matter what anybody says about Syracuse, we're still a Big East school. So, And that's the games that sell out. Outside of Duke, nobody cares. Nobody cares when Georgia Tech comes. Nobody cares when Clemson comes. Nobody cares when NC State comes. Nobody cares when, Bumbletucky. Nobody cares. We care when we play UConn. We care when we play Georgetown. That's when we care. And fans get up for those games. Alumni come back for those games. That's what it's about. It's about playing UConn. It's about playing Villanova. It's about playing St. John's. It's about playing Georgetown. So my remedy is to not play 20 conference games. And some people said it was more of ESPN and the TV deal and that they wanted it. But if everybody's losing money and the ACC might lose some institutions, I would go back to ESPN and say, hey, I think a lot more people would want to see Syracuse UConn than see them play Georgia Tech twice.
No, I'm with you 100%. They've got to play less than the 20 conference games. At this point, it seems like it's not even a discussion. That's the immediate fix for the ACC in this discussion is to play less conference games. And not only to play less conference games, but move some of those non-conference games to February or the end of January. Yeah. Don't play them all in November, December. Move some of your non-conference games into the back half of the year when your teams are better, when they figured out who they are, when the transfer portal kids have settled in, when the high school freshmen, high school seniors or whatever have settled into the roster. That's when you need to play some of these non-conference games instead of playing in a Hoop City Classic at the Brooklyn Nets Stadium at 10 in the morning on a Tuesday in November. How about we play some of these games on prime time in January and February so we can see what these teams look like against non-conference competition after they know who they are. I think that's an important part of the discussion. That would help the ACC in the short term. Long-term solution, I don't know what the long-term solution is, but the short-term solution is definitely play less conference games and play some of those non-conference games later in the year.
Yeah, I agree. Because then when Purdue loses to Syracuse in February, we can't sit here and say, oh, well, it was like the flight and there was a hangnail. And then the coach really likes pineapple, and they didn't have pineapple on the plane. You can't say it's February. It's February. It's January. Play those games. Give me that. I mean, heck, I would rather play Gonzaga if I'm Syracuse right now than to play Clemson twice. And so they need to stop. They need to just stop it. You're a huge conference of basketball. There's 15 schools. You do not need to play 20 games. And I can promise you, I think ticket sales would go up if they started doing more of these cool things against each other. I love seeing Duke Gonzaga. That was fun. So there's a lot of good things. Instant classics. I still have that game. Well, I had that game saved on my TV. And so, I mean, those are games to definitely watch. Dodd, we're to our most important part of the show. Sportscaster and writer, a friend of mine off the air, and somebody who's always been just super respectful of my work, which is hard to find in the media. And so I shout out Mr. Dodd today for many reasons, but we are unapologetically believers in Christ, love God, all about faith. So I want to wish you, once again, a very happy Easter, a happy Easter Monday, and I would love to know about the keeper of your life before we break today from Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and bid each other adieu, because faith is something that drives us more than talking about statistics and analytics.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yesterday is the day that gives me life every morning. Easter is not just something that Dan and I celebrate once a year. It's something that we celebrate every day. That you can go to that tomb in the garden in Jerusalem and it's still empty, and that's what gives us life. That Christ came and lived up to the standard of perfection we couldn't, died on a cross as a substitute for our sins, and rose again 3 days later to give us the hope of new life and having a resurrected body one day. And it gives me life in the short term, and it's going to give me eternal life in the long term. And that's why we do every day. That's why we work so hard at what we do in sports journalism, is so that we can work hardly for the Lord and not for man. Because I don't work hard just to I don't do it to win awards. I don't do it to see my name in the paper. I don't do it so somebody will give me a pat on the back for being on Dan's show. I do it to the glory of the Lord, and that's why we do this thing. And that's why we do every day. And I'm thankful that I can wake up every morning and have hope of something better, and that in the dark and terrible moments of life, because it's not all rosy and perfect, that I have somebody who's doing life with me, and somebody who has walked in my shoes, that I can appeal to. So that's why we do this thing, man.
Yeah, he is risen. Are there three better words that have been spoken? Maybe I love you from God, but he is risen. And a perfect sermon yesterday told at my church when Father Zach said, "This is a moment. This is rebirth. This is renewal. This moment of Jesus rising from the dead, pulling off the absolutely incredibly impossible. This is not a magic trick. This was written. This was meant to be. There is only one God. And that God is giving you an opportunity to start fresh, to rise with him today, out of your sins, out of your bad habits, out of going in the wrong direction, and into the right direction. This is your renewal to wash your feet and move forward with someone who loves you, who knows you, who forgives you, and who will always want you." And I don't think there's anything better than that.
Yeah, I mean, especially in today's world, with all the terrible things that we see on the news and in our personal lives, every day, the fact that we have a better hope, and that we have somebody who walks beside us and is, lives in us, giving us life and guiding us through these moments is, I don't know how somebody could do life without it, to be honest. And if you don't, reach out to me or Dan, and we can talk to you about it more. But this is life, and this is life to the fullest. And it's not always easy. It's not always peaches and cream, but it's worth it. And even in the hard moments, I'm being made into the person that I'm supposed to be. So yeah. Best time of the year. I love Easter. It's my favorite holiday. Christmas is great. I love Christmas presents, but just getting to focus on the work that Christ did for me, and the fact that he's not in the tomb anymore is what makes this all worth it.
Yeah. And him getting up and getting out of that tomb is more than enough reason to get up and get out of bed yourself. So, as Dodd said, if you need it, call us, get in touch with us, reach out to us. Alex, again, I remember the 16-year-old kid walking into the room, asking questions of Dabo Sweeney, unafraid, unapologetically who you are. I saw that and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, there's more than one of us. And I'll never forget the day that I was getting dinner in Charlotte at our ACC kickoff, and he came up to me and he said, "Hey, Dan, I hear you ask questions on the teleconference, and I just want to say I appreciate the work you do." I called my mom and dad that day, and I said, I feel like so many people discredit, push down, erase, pretend like my work isn't there. And I said, "Mom, Dad, I was standing in line getting food to go sit by myself at this dinner, and I get offered to sit with Alex Dodd and his friends, and he tells me that he appreciates my work, he sees my work, and that it inspires him." That's a thing, that's a moment that I will never forget for the rest of my life. You have no idea the impact you had on me by knowing that somebody in the hateful, backbiting, satanic, evil, consistently aggressive world of the media, that somebody said, "Hey, Dan, I see what you're doing, and I know how you're doing it, and I know why you're doing it, and I just want you to know I appreciate that you're doing it." And Alex, I will never, ever forget that you gave me one of the greatest compliments of my life, and I can't thank you enough for it. I really can't.
Well, I appreciate you, Dan. It's always good to be on with you. I'm glad that we're able to stay in touch, even though I live halfway across the country. And I'm thankful that we found our way into the same rooms and got to meet each other. So I appreciate you, brother. It's always good to talk with you, and especially to talk about the stuff that really matters. There's not a lot of shows that you can get on in the country where you can go and talk about what actually matters after you get all worked up into a tizzy about the Big Ten. There aren't a lot of people that let you talk about what really matters anymore, and that's what people need more than a new formula on the selection committee.
Yeah, no, it's true. And so I know you've always been humble about it, but thank you, man, because it's better than any award I could have gotten was that short conversation in a dinner line. I appreciate that.
No problem, man. I'd go back and do it again 100 times.
It's Alex Dodd, one of the best I know in the business, and some of the best facial hair I know in the business. So with that being said, as always, Dodd, I don't know how to say goodbye. I'll say see you later. I look forward to talking with you soon. I hope you and I could be in the same room sometime soon and spend some time together. But yeah, thank you for your very perfect words about speaking about the more important things and about God and about what really matters and being a reminder and an energy booster to me sitting here today in my life. So thank you for what you share. Thank you for your openness and sharing it, talking about God and being a good person. So shout out to you and the family and to the missus, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Dan. You don't stop talking about what matters either.
I won't. I'll talk with you soon, brother.
All right, man. I'll let you later.
All right, take care. That coming from Alex Dodd one more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Talking about God. Why? Because it's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that matters. It's like, Dan, it's the only thing that matters? Above everything else, yeah. And shed everything else away, yeah. There's no wins and losses in heaven. There's no money in heaven. So the things that people care about and put in the place of God, they don't matter. They don't matter at the end. So yeah, God is the only thing that matters. Because by loving God, believing in God, celebrating God, and knowing God, you become a good person. And it's not that there's not good people out there that don't know what to believe in. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when the storm is raging, somebody always has their arms around you. And it may not be your boss, and it may not be your girlfriend or boyfriend, and it may not be somebody in the government, but somebody's got you. Always. And I'm never going to hide that I believe in God, because hiding that I believe in God, I might as well just not even call myself Dan Tortora, because he called me by name and I'm his. I will not forget my father, my brother, or my spirit. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back to wrap up the show after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbeeville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. They can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. Appreciate you being here this morning, and can't thank you enough. Appreciate your patience as Bethann and I were having a nice conversation off the air, and then we brought it on the air, and then, of course, staying with you for some expanded time here after that. So, want to give a wonderful thank you to everybody that's been with us on all of our outlets, youtube.com, facebook.com, both / Wake Up Call DT. For those of you used to being on MixLR, we've shifted over to Podbean these last few weeks, so we do appreciate you doing this. It's not that we are totally off of MixLR. We've just kind of bounced over to wakeupcalldt.podbean.com to test out some pieces here. So we do thank everybody on mixlr.com / Wake Up Call DT, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Once the shows go live, they jump into the archives on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, TuneIn, and more. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. So with that being said, thanks to our incredible partners here at Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, PB&J's Lunchbox, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Ma and Pa's Cattle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Great Lakes Honda City, Chick-fil-A Watertown, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay. Mother's Cupboard, where we have my exclusive sandwich, the Cuse McMother. We've been selling them like crazy. Get over there and try them. My spin on the breakfast sandwich, bacon, egg, and cheese inside of French toast. Go to Mother's Cupboard, 3709 James Street, Syracuse, 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. We'll see you there. 317 at Montgomery. The name of the location is the name of the restaurant. I consider it a 5-star restaurant that could be in any city, anywhere. The ambiance, the service, the food, fantastic. It is worth it. Head out there today. 317 at Montgomery Street. If you're celebrating a birthday, if it's a date, if you're going to propose, if you're getting a family back together, whatever it is that's going on, 317 is the place to be. 317 at Montgomery Street. The name of the location is the name of the restaurant in downtown Syracuse. And of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Cannot thank the Dolphins enough for trusting me to tell their story, coming from President Dr. Linda Lemura, AD Bob Beretta, the coaches, the student athletes, everybody connected, and I'm so thankful for that connection that we've had, and everything we've gotten to do for almost 2 years now has been a beautiful story, just a masterpiece. And I am a person with a blank canvas and a paintbrush, and these student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni are helping me paint a picture that is exquisite. And it's because of your stories. You are the colors that I am using on this canvas, and it is just a wonderful thing to see and to tell and to share. I can't thank the Dolphins enough. So on Wednesdays at 9 o'clock, we bring you Dolphin Time, first and third Wednesday of each month, AD and DT, with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. Second and fourth Wednesday, we bring you Dolphin Dive, where we dive into the stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. And I love telling these stories. We do it on Wednesdays, and we underpromise and overdeliver. We've done a ton of stories already here, and we've just started April. And we had a conversation with Tracy Roman over the weekend, so you definitely got to check that out, as well as her team won a doubleheader for softball. So a lot of wonderful things. Go to the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Would love to see you there and love to share these moments with you. LeMoyneDolphins.com for more information on the Dolphins in general. And fins up. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. The Bobcat Buzz coming to you every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, exclusively with coverage of the Bobcats like never before. Men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, and their inaugural baseball season. Under promise, over deliver once again with the Bobcats. The amount of specials that we do and the wonderful things that we get to have here as we tell the stories of student athletes, coaches, and administration. I want to thank Nick Dimitrievsky, Alex Grigorita, Tay Baker, Clay Gagan, Sherman, Sean Peak, and everyone, Kevin, literally everybody who has, and the administration of Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, for believing in me, my mission, my vision, and allowing me to tell your story for the Bobcats. You can check out our content monthly coming up here with the Bobcat Buzz. And you want to stay close to our social media to find out when these wonderful specials are going to be every single month. And you can go back and watch them on the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and search Bobcat Buzz by subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. And for more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. Find us on Facebook, as I mentioned, with the Bobcat Buzz and everything we have coming up. Facebook at wakeupcalldt, the Twitter at calldt, Instagram at wakeupcall_dt. We've added a ton of specials, including with West Genesee and Liverpool boys and girls lacrosse, West Genesee baseball. So many great things available to you. Go to YouTube, subscribe, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. And of course, like and follow us on our social medias. Big shout out and a big thanks inside of Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, the best place for snacks, the snack capital, to me, of Central New York and beyond. Head to Ma and Pa's today, online, maandpaspopcorn.com, in person, 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And why would you not want to walk in there and smell all those great smells that you get when you walk into Ma and Pa's? Head out there today. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. Thanks to them, what's poppin', our list of topics for the day and guests. Big shout out to Binghamton Bearcats women's basketball head coach and my friend Bethann Shapiro-Ord. Big shout out to my buddy Murph for DT and Murphy, Brendan Murphy, fellow broadcaster and someone who contributes here to Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. And a big shout out to fellow sportscaster and writer and one of the good guys in the media world, one of the good people in the media world in general, Alex Dodd. Much love to you, brother. So, with all that being said, God bless, no stress, do your best. We'll talk in the morning, God willing. Happy Easter.